In this video, I'm going to be uh, doing a bit of tips and tricks and tools that you might not know of. If you're a beginner in Maya, say you've been using it for a week, if you know the interface but you don't really know what a lot of buttons and stuff do, this is going to go over some good ones to use, especially when you're starting out. Um, so it shouldn't be a long video. I say that, but it's we're gonna start over here by just showing you just gonna duplicate it, to be honest, makes it easier. Here, first hotkey, gonna go through smooth button. This is a previewing what it'll look like when you add more faces by subdividing. Now subdividing is basically, it's this button over here, and kind of showing it just makes it a bit simpler to understand. It's basically gonna add more faces, but it tries to interpret what it looks like. So as you can see here, it's become a ball from a square. And that's a preview. When you press 3, it shows you a preview. And as you can see, it's come out how this preview I expected it to come out. So you can always use a preview to kind of get a grasp of if you're working, if you don't really want to model with a lot of topology, you don't want a lot of faces, you might want to keep it a bit simpler. And then at the end, you'll press this button and you'll add all them faces like the rest of the faces. So having a preview is really nice because you can basically get more of an idea of what your model is going to come looking like, even though you haven't fully smoothed everything out yet. So just previewing it's really nice. So what I'm going to do is kind of bouncing off of that preview method. We're going to try and, instead of getting this to go like this, we're going to make it try and keep this shape. Now, the way to do this is this tool up here, multi-cut tool, but I'm going to just show you on the side. You should have this modeling toolkit. Press it, multi-cut tool here, bunch of other tools. We're going to be using this one. Click on it. If you come over to this side and you double click, it's going to basically bring up a tool settings panel. And if you want, you can drag this. It's a bit finicky sometimes, but there we go. There we go. So we've got the multi-cut tool. We don't really need this, but it's good to have your tool settings kind of like over here so that you can open it when you need to. But what you can do with the multi-cut tool is you can add edges in all the way around, you know. Some good things to know with this: if you hold control, then it basically does it all the way around the model. If you hold control and shift, however, it does it in 10% integers. So if you want 50% halfway straight down the middle, there you go. If you want it here, there you go. So control Z, get rid of them. Basically, another what you can use this for basically is if you want to keep this shape from going to that, if you go to these corners areas, you kind of do around like here, and you're giving it these extra edges around it. When you smooth it, the software basically knows that this area it's got these edges here already. So what it's going to do is it's going to do that. And if you do that for you can see here, I haven't done it here. So if I do it here and here, I think the last one to do it is here, and now all of this is smooth. And just again to show you, we're just gonna duplicate it and drag it across basically. What we're gonna do is I'm just gonna smooth it. And there you go. You've got we'll get the preview. You can see how much it's kept this same shape, except that with the smoothing, you've got a better grasp on how it's going to look, which is really nice. Let's just delete that. Another useful tool to have if you don't really want to. So I'm just going to get this cube back to no edges around it. There's another tool, but you're going to have to come all the way up here. I know it's very out of the way. Called Insert Edge Loops. This one's good to have the tool settings for. It'll start off looking like this. Basically, what this one does is you click here and it puts it all the way around. But if you come down to multiple edge loops, and it's got the equal multiplier, and it's set to, if it's set to 1, what it's going to do is you can't move it anywhere, but it's going to lock it in the center. Now, say you want to have 4 going down this way. You've now just got 4 like that. Really simple. It's really nice, and it can really speed stuff up, especially when you're starting to model. Like when you're starting your model, I use this tool a lot. But another good use for it, instead of doing the multi-cuts, is if you just go there and then you press R while these are still highlighted and drag them across like that, and they're evenly spaced at both sides. You're going to do the same here, and then you can do the same here. And again, you've got back to that result. It's not necessarily quicker, but as well, it's just one of them things where it's like another nice tool to know. And you can use this for a lot of stuff that you need to just add multiple edges in. Like if you're doing a building or something, then you need to add like specific windows and stuff. You can like space out stuff really nicely. So another good tool to have. What I'm going to do is, when I started out, I always had a real tough time doing this. I don't know why, because it's really simple, and once you know it, you know it. But basically, the rotation happens from here, happens from the center, because of this right here that is highlighted orange, that is your pivot point. So now, when you're like rotating something, it's going to rotate from there. However, if you hold D, you can basically change the pivot point, and if you need it to be exactly at the bottom on this line, if you hold V, see this middle bit, it goes to a circle, you grab that, it snaps to where edges are. And so now if you do the rotation, the pivot point's now at the bottom, so it will go like this. This is just another cool tool to use. Also good, you know, when you're animating stuff for the first time and you want to get a grasp, you need to know where your pivot points are. But it's just another useful tool. Remember, that one is holding D to get the pivot, and you can just drag it, but if you hold V, you can snap it. What I'm going to do right now is I'm going to do a quick model and then come back to you real quick. So since I'm making this, I'm going to be basically making like a coffee mug real quick, but I thought I'd come to you with another kind of useful skill or tool to use. Is if you press Ctrl and E, you get this called extrude, and you can basically push stuff inside, or you can stretch stuff out. You can make some like cool looking shapes basically, and yeah, it's just another tool to use basically. So again, as I'm going through, I'm just gonna like pause every now and then and just come to you with new things. This is another tool that you can use, fill hole. And then if you want to keep your topology right, a good way to keep cylinders like this is to kind of have them going, you basically want to be working in quads. So you always want to have 4 edges, so you can keep it like that as well. But I'm just about done actually with this, so it doesn't really matter about the bottom one. So this is going to become a mug, and I'm going to subdivide this, give me some more faces to work with. Probably going to end up adding my own anyway, just for the handle. Doesn't really matter because I'm just doing this real quick. But if you are in the faces mode and you this is a good example, I guess, if you're modeling a mug and you delete these faces, what you can do is if you highlight these and these, we've got another good tool, great tool. I'm going to show you it in its most simplified way, because this is what you mostly use it for. Say you've accidentally deleted a face and you can't undo it. If you come over to your edit mesh, you got this thing called bridge, and it adds your faces back between these 2 edges. And it's just a handy one to use basically. Bridge. I've got hotkeys set up, so I can literally just press like, I have like 5 buttons on my mouse, so I can just hold like shift and one of the buttons and it does it quickly. So setting up hotkeys is also a nice thing if you can do that, if you've got a mouse with extra buttons on it. Can really help you speed up when you're modeling. But if we select all of these and all of these, double clicking them to go all the way around, and then we do that bridge, edit mesh and bridge, you see how it's kind of messed up a bit of the topology here? Well, we're going to fix that in a second, but what you want to do first is, if we're making a handle, come to curve type, do blend, and you add divisions. It looks a bit funky, but we've got this target direction. You can mess around with these if you don't know why something's not working a certain way. Yeah, there we go, and you can see we've gotten that face. And the more divisions we add here, the more smooth this handle's going to become, because we've got this quite a few topology, like quite a lot of topology on it. We're just going to try and get it a bit smooth as well. So now you've got like, this is a really simple version of a mug. But if I press this to smooth it, you can kind of see we've got like all of this. And you can fix that by adding in your multi-cut tools and your edges. But you kind of want to keep this topology even more clean. And this comes down to your edge flow. And you don't want to be adding too many edges, because you can fix this by adding edges here, 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 and here, and then it makes this more tightly knit, like that. But now you've just got a lot of topology, and if we smooth it out and you have a look, you can kind of see these creases. Now, we don't want them creases, so I'm going to go all the way back to before I even deleted the faces. Let's just... And this is going to be a good thing. You got to ignore all the button presses there, but if we do Control E to extrude, and we click on offset, and you hold control, you can basically drag it if you click here, or you can type the buttons in here. But if you press control and left click, it doesn't do it as drastically, so you got a bit more control. If you go like this, and we do that, and you may be asking why we've done that, it's basically to keep the topology a lot more nice. So you can see that this loops around here, and it still comes across there, and it still goes down there, but you're basically keeping the topology nice. The reason that this topology is a bit weird is just because of this at the bottom. That's why we did this on the inside. But you can see like how keeping this and turning the offset is now basically, if we go back and we redo this, we've been given these extra edges now around the side, which are going to help for when we bridge it. Curve type to blend, add divisions, direction offset to plus, add more divisions to smooth it out a bit more. There we go. And then we've got the multi-cut tool again. We can add that there, that there. And if we look at it, it still looks a bit over the shop, but we can add these in around this, because it's not gonna do this and go all the way around the body, around the mesh. It's just gonna keep it a bit more like this. And even though this is kind of dragged down a bit, when you start to texture stuff, it's not gonna matter if you're taking it into other softwares, because it's still gonna look clean when you look at it like this. And now we've avoided them creases that were showing up here. So what I've done here is I've just added an extra edge in between that last few faces. So these aren't connected anymore, but we do need them connected. So if, say, you modeled the handle separately and you now want to attach it to your model, what you can do is you can get this tool, if I remember exactly where it is. Trying to find a lot of stuff. Target weld, but again, modeling toolkit, it's over here. We select target weld and we go to vertexes. You can see if I left click here, I've now got a hold of this. If I go here, it snaps it. And you can do this all the way around, but that's a bit slow. So if you want to do that a bit more faster, you can just grab an edge, you can bring it down, and just connect your edges rather than doing it thingy. If you do that one and you didn't attach that, that's still attached. And then again, last one, and that's all attached and it's all properly attached. You can do the same down here. Ooh. There you go. That's attached again. So that's Target World, another good one. Just honestly makes it a lot more easier. If we smooth it again, you know, it still looks how it did before. Okay, seeing as though I've got a mug, a lot of the other stuff I'm going to be doing, it's not going to make sense to do it on a mug, but it can still show you how stuff's done. So I'm going to go over to vertexes, and then if you press B, you can see it's done this thing. What is it? What does it do? If you hold down B and left click while still holding down B, you can see that it's kind of adding all of this like area, and this is called I think it's soft selection. Basically, if I drag this vertex out now, the areas that are in this kind of like different like yellow to red, yellow's like the most drastic because it's close by, these are all affected. It's even affecting the ones inside, I think, yeah, because of how wide the selection is. But you can see how you can like warp this shape. So this can be used for a lot of stuff. I might quickly show a video. I used it on a portal gun that I modelled to like get a bit more shape for the underpart on the barrel of it. But like, yes, you can do this with faces as well, or with the edges. There's some nice tools to get a bit of detail, because if you wanted to, honestly, if you wanted to model this kind of like curved shape, it would take you a while to just understand it. So sometimes using the soft selection tool is just really nice, and you know, you could make some cool looking mug if you wanted to, with like some random character here further down the line by using soft selection to give you a bit of a shape for it. But there you go. I mean, that's another nice tool to use. So that's just pressing B on the keyboard. As well, if you want to hide something, so say you're working on something and you like want to get over to this handle, but this mug's in the way. If you select it with object mode and you press Ctrl H, it hides it. If you come to your outliner, click on it and you press Shift H, it will reappear. That's another nice tool. Yeah, I've got one more really nice one to use if you're wanting to rotate something. As well, if you want to make these a bit easier to grab, you can press plus or minus on your keyboard and it changes the size of these. So if you wanted more smaller movements, it's sometimes nice to have it be a smaller thing to drag across, to have it be a bigger one to drag across. So you can use that, but if you press E to go to your rotate, it's going to make it not that big, Jesus, gonna make it about that big. When you're rotating, it just kind of rotates whilst you do this. However, if you hold J on the keyboard, it will basically move it in about 15% integers around. If you want to change that to be a different number, again, you can left click. You've got your tool settings, and you'll see here, it's called Step Snap. When you hold J, it selects this. But if you want it to do this every time, if you press on absolute, you don't even have to hold J, and it will do it. And now if you hold J, basically lets you free move it. But you can change this number, so if you wanted it to move exactly 90 degrees from where it is, there you go. Moves 90 degrees each time. So yeah, that's just a few nice, small, easy to use tools that might just help you get a bit of a better grasp on modeling and with the stuff that you're doing. And I might make some more of these, like small tips, just because some of them are useful, and sometimes they're not very easy to find. It may be a simple tool, but sometimes I've had it before where I'm like searching down the rabbit hole of going through forums to how do I fix this and how can I find this tool and what does this tool do. So I might do a few more of these kind of videos, but I hope you enjoyed. Hope anyone who's starting out with Maya, you aren't getting scared off by it, because I know that it was, I thought I'd never be able to do this when I started doing it, but if you just stick with it and you learn some of the tools, you'll be fine. So hope you enjoyed the video, guys.